but I'm never in the moment of like sitting back and I want to travel here to have fun or do this or that. I've never been that person. But the first time I really got a chance to experience true happiness and true peace was so what I did to myself to become who I am today, it takes a great toll on your body. So I believe God gave me time to rest and he took me out of commission. Not even the mind of Goggins could get me back up. So I had about a good 6-7 months where I was out. And when I was out, I had time to reflect on all I had accomplished. And that was the first time in my life where I sat back and said, wow. Because only I may be telling you some of the story. I know the exact truth of how brutal my life was and how I shouldn't be on this show today and how the mind and how beautiful it is. So what brings me joy and happiness is knowing how beautiful the mind is. And I'm one of the few people that didn't read about it, didn't experience it through some drug. I got to experience the beauty of true fucking willpower. True fuck you. I'm going to fail. I'm going to fucking fail. I'm going to fucking fail. I'm going to fucking fail. And I will succeed. Just me talking about that gives me a feeling I know what I did. And I don't need to travel somewhere or to have this or have that. I have it all here in my mind. The beauty is remembering this young, dumb, what people call nigger is now where I'm at today. And that is when you finally get to that point for me, it's forever lasting peace. That's my happiness is my reflection on the suffering of my journey, knowing I never quit, nor was I guided by anybody on this earth. I was guided by something much more powerful, and I listened, and I chose the path of most resistance. Talent not required. The biggest depression of my life is you get caught up into helping so many people out, and it's great, and I love that, but you lose yourself in all of that shit. It literally, and people go, man, but my God, like you're changing. I get all that shit, man. Mm-hmm. But what the fuck is motivating you in that book? What's motivating you is the fucking stories I'm telling you about what I did in my life. Mm-hmm. Once I stop living that, I'm no more. I am not the fucker that you are now being motivated from. Mm-hmm. So right now in the mirror, I now got back to Goggins. I'm now back to running 100 miles a week. I'm now back to getting the fuck. I saw and I talk to my girl about all the time. You travel, you speak, you all this shit. It's all fucking great and dandy for most people. Mm-hmm. I'm Goggins. What makes me is the dungeon. And yeah, and people go, well, oh my God, like they're gonna hear this. My God, you don't have any peace in your life. Don't get it fucking twisted. Weak people who hear me get all fucking poopy pants about how I talk. So be it. Mm. What changed me was I had to be hard on myself. And I have to continue to grind myself into a fine dust. Yeah. Period. Yeah. That's where I feel good. Mm-hmm. I feel like I accomplished something. If things come easy, it's not fun. I must fail at something repeatedly. It has to haunt me. And then once I complete it, I feel like I accomplished something. Mm-hmm. I don't want to set out and say, oh, there's an A. We're good. It's fucking stupid. No, I want to turn it in 1,000,000 times and say, you failed. You failed. And I'll say, okay, roger that. And sit there and analyze what I'm doing wrong. Go to these places that people don't go to anymore because all this fucking social media shit and everything's computerized. I want to go to that dark place in my mind and say, okay, how are we going to get this done? Who are you? At the core of your soul. If you don't know who you are, I can't tell you who you are. I can help people that believe that they're much less than what they truly are. Help them find greatness in themselves. And greatness isn't running 200 miles at a time or doing 4,000 pull-ups or being a SEAL. Greatness is whatever the hell you dreamed of in your own mind. You got to first see it. You got to first create this vision in your mind. And then that's when I come into play. Once you create this vision in your mind, it's how am I going to get there now? And that's when I come into play. But first, you got to create your own vision. And it's not external. It's the vision created is inside of you.
It turns out that the way your emotional systems work is that they only work if you have a goal. So you have a goal, whatever that is, and then anything that happens to you that puts you closer to the goal, that makes you happy. And it turns on your systems that make you go ahead, move forward, be attracted to. Anything that gets in the way of your goal, depending on its potency, produces negative emotion. Anxiety, frustration, disappointment, shame, guilt, anger, stops you.
Happiness is a side effect. It's not a thing in itself. It's something that comes upon you. It's like an act of grace in some sense. You know perfectly well that we're subject to forces within us that aren't of our voluntary control. And certainly happiness is one of those, because you cannot will yourself to be happy. You might be able to will yourself to be unhappy, but you can't will yourself to be happy. There are certain preconditions that have to be met that are quite mysterious in order for you to be happy, and then it happens. And then maybe, if you're wise, you regard that as a minor incomprehensible miracle that somehow you happen to be in the right place at the right time. Now, I've made the case that the most effective means of pursuing the good life, which is not the same as pursuing happiness, is to adopt something like a stance of maximal responsibility towards the suffering and malevolence in the world. And I think that should be pursued primarily as an individual responsibility. It's not like I don't think that political and familial larger organizations are necessary, but in the final analysis, we each suffer alone in some fundamental sense, and we have our own malevolence to contend with in some fundamental sense, and the proper beginning of moral behavior, which is the proper beginning of the right way to act in the world, is to take responsibility for that. I think you do what you can to conceptualize the highest good that you can conceptualize. That's the first thing, to develop a vision of what might be. And it has to be a personalized vision as well as a universalized vision. And then you work diligently to ensure that your actions are in keeping with that, and you allow yourself on that pursuit to be informed by the knowledge of your ignorance and the necessity for acting and speaking in truth. And a fair bit of that, I believe, is derived, I think it's fair to say that that's derived from an underlying Judeo-Christian ethic, and I make no bones about the fact that I think of those stories metaphysically or philosophically or psychologically as fundamental to the proper functioning of our society insofar as it can function properly. And so it's not happiness, it's meaning. And meaning is to be found in the adoption of responsibility. And then I'll close with this. Responsibility is not only to do what you believe to be right. That's not, because that's duty. That's not enough. That's sort of what the conservatives put forward as the ultimate virtue, which is duty. It's not that. It's that you're acting in a manner that is in accordance with what you believe to be right, but you're doing it in a manner that simultaneously expands your ability to do it, which means that you cannot stay safely ensconced within the confines of your current ethical beliefs. You have to stand on the edge of what you know and encounter continually the consequences of your ignorance to expand your domain of knowledge and ability so that you're not only acting in an efficient manner, but you're increasing the efficiency and productivity and meaningfulness of what it is that you're engaged in. And I think that, and I believe that the psychological evidence supports this, even the neuropsychological evidence, is that that's when true happiness descends upon you, because it's an indication from the deepest recesses of your psyche, biologically instantiated, that you're in the right place at the right time. You're doing what you should be doing, but you're doing it in a manner that expands your capacity to do even better things in the future. And I think that's the deepest human instinct there is. It's not rational. It's far deeper than that. And it's something that's genuine and that exists within us and that constitutes a proper guide if you don't pervert it with self-deception and deceit.